Hey everyone, and thanks for joining us at the Ridge Community Church Online. My name is John, and I just want to say welcome. Thanks for joining us wherever you're joining us from. I mean, that could be from home, maybe you're at the gym, maybe at your kid's sports tournament, wherever. You really can be a part of the online campus from wherever you're at. But I also want to encourage you, if you've just been doing or you're just watching service, I want to encourage you to connect with us because you could be missing out on the true feeling of the sense of connection with our online campus. And you can do that really easily. Just text us the word connect to the number that you see on the screen. We'll bounce you back this automated form that you can fill out in less than 2 minutes. I timed it myself. And in the form, you can ask us for prayer, something that we can pray for you about. You can ask us questions about anything to do with service or God. You can find a next step to connect with people, or you can find out some more information about what we have for you and your family. Now, today, our own guy, our online campus pastor, Tyler, he's going to be teaching and talking about the last week of our series about GOAT, our greatest of all time, where we've been talking about Psalm 23. And we've been using this portion of the Bible to really connect with God in a new way and have a greater understanding of how he develops a great relationship with us. That's so much so that we really do believe it is one of the GOATs of the Bible. So Tyler's going to come up now, and then I'll see you back afterwards. But thanks for joining us.
It's one small step for man, one giant leap for mankind.
I have a dream that one day this nation will rise up, live out the true meaning of its creed.
Hey, welcome everyone. Thanks for being with us today. My name is Tyler and I serve as our online campus pastor. Hey, today we are finishing the series that we've been in called GOAT, and it's based on what we consider to be the greatest passage of scripture of all time, Psalm 23. Now, why Psalm 23? Well, because it is so simple that a little kid can memorize it and understand what it means to have a shepherd, sheep, and all that good stuff in it. But it is also so rich and so deep that the more that you read it, the longer you follow God, the more you pull out of it and learn. It really is the GOAT. And so we've been starting off each week with a reading of Psalm 23. And since this is our last week of doing this together, let's read it together just one more time. Feel free to read out loud if you'd like. If you're not sure you believe the Bible or if this is sacred, you can actually take a pass on this. We would never force you to do something that you don't want to do. All right, here we go. The Lord is my shepherd. I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. He refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil, for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. You prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. You anoint my head with oil. My cup overflows. And surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Hey, let's review what we read and learn the first few weeks of this series. Going back to the Lord is my shepherd, I lack nothing. He makes me lie down in green pastures. He leads me beside quiet waters. Remember, we said what calms the sheep is not the absence of predators, but the presence of the shepherd. There can be friction in the flock and we have to be full, so our tagline was to stop gazing and start grazing because the capital L-O-R-D is my personal shepherd. Then he refreshes my soul. He guides me along the right paths for his name's sake. Well, what is that? The right path. It's not about the bad stuff that you're avoiding. It's about the good stuff that you're trying to find. It's about getting to the good. And we talked about how that involves the right direction and the right decisions and the right routines. And then we moved on to even though I walk through the darkest valley, I will fear no evil. Even though. That's the phrase that changed the mood of this psalm. We learned together that even though will happen, just because you're in the valley, don't equate your darkness with his distance, because he's there too. Then for you are with me. Your rod and your staff, they comfort me. This is where we took the YOU term, not talking about the shepherd anymore. Now we're talking to the shepherd. And you prepare a table before me in the presence of my enemies. Yes, the enemies are there, but God is honoring us in the middle of it all. And then you anoint my head with oil, my cup overflows. Well, what is that? That's about the honor. That's about the full life that Jesus promised, that he fills us up with so much joy that it spills out in front of others. And if you missed any of those previous weeks, please subscribe to our podcast and YouTube channel, and you can catch up there. Now today, we're going to end with the grand finale, the master finish, the wow moment. I mean, think of your favorite movie with that great ending. For me, I'm thinking of Shawshank Redemption, Inception, and The Usual Suspects. This is that type of great ending. So here we go. Surely your goodness and love will follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Now that word surely is a big deal. You might be expecting me to make a Leslie Nielsen airplane joke out of that, but honestly, I've never watched it, even after being told countless times to. But surely means to be assured, confident, and don't doubt. And after what we have seen throughout the series, we are reminded that we can be confident and not doubt God, our shepherd. So let's go back to that again. Surely goodness and love, or many other translations say mercy. Goodness and mercy will follow me all the days of my life. And you might be thinking, have you seen my life? I mean, goodness and mercy? It feels like anything but goodness and mercy. And so because of that, we want to keep this thought in our mind regardless of what's going on. And so here's our thought for the week. Don't forget surely. Whatever you do, wherever you go in life, whatever kind of stuff is going on for you right now, whatever is going on in your life, don't forget surely. Now here's the thing about David, who wrote this. If you took what he's writing just at face value, you might look at this phrase and think he never had any problems and issues, that he's just positive all the time. But that's definitely not David. For example, in Psalm 88, he said, "Darkness is my closest friend." You ever wonder where that song came from? Hello, darkness, my old friend. David wasn't always in a surely goodness mood. And so don't let it bother you if you don't feel like goodness and mercy right now. Because David didn't always feel it either. And here's why it's important to understand that. Out of all of the Bible characters, even Jesus, they are portrayed as normal people with normal emotions, just like you and me. They are honest about the death valleys and the enemies, and they just bring it to God. Another example I want to show you is the psalm just before Psalm 23, and that would be Psalm 22 for those of you who aren't good at math. Now, I'm not going to read the whole thing, but I want you to understand that David wrote both Psalm 22 and 23. So here's some of 22, and it may sound familiar, especially around Easter time. Here's what he wrote. He writes, my God, why have you forsaken me? Why are you so far from saving me? So far from the cries of anguish, all who see me mock me, they hurl insults, shaking their heads. I want you to grasp how this plays into Jesus on the cross, because that's important. Here's what comes next. He trusts in the Lord, they say. Let the Lord rescue him. Let him deliver him, since he delights in him. I am poured out like water, and my bones are out of joint. My heart has turned to wax. It is melted within me. Dogs surround me. A pack of villains encircle me. They pierce my hands and my feet. All my bones are on display. People stare and gloat over me. They divide my clothes among them, and they cast lots for my garment. But you, Lord, do not be far from me. You are my strength. Come quickly to help me. Now, this doesn't sound like surely goodness and surely mercy. Remember that David wrote this hundreds of years before Jesus was on the cross. Doesn't that sound like exactly what Jesus was going through? Absolutely. When Jesus from the cross said, my God, why have you forsaken me? Every person there knew what he was doing. He was starting Psalm 22. Now you need to understand that the rabbis taught the Psalms. I mean, every kid had them memorized, and they knew the Psalms like you and I know TV theme show lyrics. So all a rabbi had to do was start one of them, and his students would finish it back to him, like this. When I say the line from this TV show song, hasn't been your day, your week, your month, or even your what? Or even your year, because I'll be there for you. I mean, every Friends fan, you instantly got it. And you might not be surprised that my friends said I was always the Ross of the group. So when Jesus says, my God, why have you forsaken me? Everybody had to have a big light bulb moment going off, because they were dividing his garments. They've pierced his hands and his feet. All these things started to make sense. My God, why have you forsaken me? And it was so obvious that Jesus was fulfilling this prophecy that had been issued by David years before. Now, why bring this up? Because I don't want you to be discouraged. If your reality feels more like Psalm 22 than it does Psalm 23, don't be discouraged. Let me say that again. Don't be discouraged if your reality right now is things feel pretty bad right now. And that's exactly why you need to remember today's big idea. Don't forget surely. When it feels like you are in Death Valley, in the presence of your enemies, and that God has forsaken you, don't forget, surely goodness and mercy are going to follow me all the days of my life. And what Psalm 23 shows us is dwelling in God's house does not mean that we suddenly don't experience bad circumstances. Instead, what it means is God is there with us, even though. So let's put this verse up again, this time in the King James Version. Surely goodness and mercy shall follow me all the days of my life, and I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. Goodness and mercy. Goodness literally means godness, and that's what it is. What it meant originally was a shorthand way of saying all the good stuff that God gives us. It's about God's goodness, the godness. It's God's goodness in your life. And mercy means a covenant. We tend to think in terms of contracts. A contract that you make with somebody is, hey, when I do something for you and you do something for me, and as long as we do it, it's going to work out. But a covenant is so much more than a contract. It's about, hey, I'm going to do this no matter what. And God's covenant to us is that he will love us no matter what. That's why some translations use the word love or even unfailing love in place of mercy. Now here's how God loves you and I no matter what. It comes with this next word. Follow. This word is actually part of the surprise ending. This is the plot twist. How? Well, the word here, follow, is not big enough for us. It sounds sort of passive at first glance. When I first hear the word follow, I think of my kids following me while walking to school. They at times slow down, they get distracted, and sometimes I have to turn back and say, hey, come on, let's move it. And that's not why follow is the best translation here. A better translation would be goodness and mercy chase me down all the days of my life. And this is why it's a twist ending. Throughout the psalm, we see how the shepherd leads and guides us. And as a sheep, we follow him. But now we see the shepherd's goodness and love chase us down. Going back to my kids, if there was a moment while walking to school that they ended up in danger, like if they were wandering in the road or something, I'm going to chase after them to get them safely out of the street. And that's the picture we want to have here. Goodness and mercy don't aimlessly follow, they chase you down. Scholar Ken Bailey gives us an insight as to how this whole thing would have worked out for those that understood the shepherd and his sheep. The local shepherd's job was to take care of the sheep in the field and lead the flock back to the place of safety for the night. And as they were heading home, that was actually the most dangerous time of day because it was the perfect time for a predator, a wolf or a lion or whatever, to follow along behind. And by this time, they know the sheep are there, and as they start to leave, it was a very dangerous time because the predator could come along and pick off the stray sheep in the back. The enemy was not just following, but he was actively pursuing. And Jesus says in John 10, the enemy is actively pursuing to steal, kill, and destroy. And you and I can relate to that. There are so many negative, threatening things in our lives right now. There are so many enemies that are chasing us, stalking us. But when the Lord is our shepherd, it's more than the fact that our shepherd is there to protect us from the predators. That's good all by itself. But better than the absence of predators is the presence of goodness and mercy chasing us down. This means that not only is there not a wolf chasing along to get the sheep, there's goodness and mercy chasing along to get the sheep. And that's the surprise ending. It's chasing us down. And so how does that happen for you and me? If what? If the Lord is my shepherd. Yeah, it'll be easier if we're in the green pastures, if we're beside the still waters. It won't be so hard for goodness and mercy to find us. And the same is true with the right path. Goodness and mercy are already right there on the right path. But no matter what, the Lord is your shepherd, and goodness and mercy, they're going to find you. And this is again where Christianity is so different. We've all wandered astray. And we would figure that badness should be following us, not goodness. But that idea is karma. Karma is whatever you've done is going to follow you all the days of your life. You do bad things, and those bad things are going to come back on you. And people naturally expect God to be like karma. You do bad, and God's going to give you bad. It's as if your badness is what is chasing you. But that's not what David says. It's goodness and mercy that are chasing after me. Don't forget that. Don't forget Shirley. You can be confident that goodness and mercy are chasing you down. And if that's not enough for you, there's one more. Here's the punctuation to the already great psalm. I will dwell in the house of the Lord forever. There are very few things that got David fired up like the idea of the presence of God. I mean, he loved being in the presence of the shepherd, where goodness and mercy chased him down. He couldn't get enough of it. In Psalm 23's ending, David is reminding us that you can be assured, you can be absolutely confident. Surely this goodness and mercy is going to follow you, even though you can't see it, even though you don't deserve it, even when you're hurting, even when you're tired, even when you're looking for the path and you can't find it, even when the valley is dark and the enemies are close, surely goodness and mercy will chase you down, and you can dwell in the presence of God forever. How? Well, Jesus showed us how many years later. As a church, one of our theme chapters in the Bible is Luke chapter 15. In Luke 15, there's 3 stories that Jesus tells to point us towards our vision to bring the hope of Jesus into every home. There's a woman who loses a coin and does everything she can to find it. There's a man whose son runs away. That's our prodigal son story. And there's the sheep and shepherd story. Jesus taught it like this. Suppose one of you, Jesus says, has 100 sheep and loses one of them. Doesn't he leave the 99 in the open country and go after the lost sheep until he finds it? And when he finds it, he joyfully puts it on his shoulders and goes home and calls his friends and neighbors together and says, "Rejoice with me! I have found my lost sheep." See, in this story, God is the shepherd and he's got 100 sheep, and one of them gets away. Now, 100 sheep would have been a really big herd. Most shepherds didn't have that many. So this was kind of magnifying this whole process. And one of them gets lost, and so he leaves the 99 and he goes to find the lost sheep. It's only 1% of his flock, but he goes because that's his priority. And so from this, we understand that God will stop at nothing to go after the one, to chase him down with his goodness and mercy so that the sheep can dwell with him forever. That's why Jesus could say, I am the good shepherd. I lay down my life for my sheep. I will stop at nothing to chase you down. I will chase you with goodness and my mercy, and you will dwell in my house if it kills me. And it did. So as we wrap up this series, I want to speak to 2 groups of people. The first group, you've been following Jesus for some time. You're part of the 99 sheep. You're in the herd. Goodness and mercy have been chasing you down, and you are dwelling in God's presence. And that's awesome. I mean, we are so happy for you. But here's what's next for you. Join the shepherd and look for your one. The one is someone you are close to but is not close to God. And God is using you to show her or him that because they matter to you, they matter to God. And here's what I want you to do with your one. Invite them to Easter. Why? There's something about Easter that may open them up to what God wants to do in their life as they are here with you as you celebrate the goodness and mercy that God is doing in your life. You can do this either in person or online, and you'll hear more about all of the great things going on for Easter. It's going to be great as we celebrate this amazing day in a special way with baptisms and all. But it's going to be even better for you when you bring your one with you. Now, the second group, you are the one sheep. You've been investigating Jesus, asking questions, checking out what it means to follow him, and now you are realizing that following Jesus isn't about karma, it's about goodness and mercy chasing you down, so that you can dwell in the presence of a good God who loves you forever. So if you're ready to make the decision to follow Jesus, I want to give you an opportunity to do that. And here's how you can do that. I'm going to lead you in a prayer right now, and there's nothing special or magical about this prayer. I just want you to take it and make it your own. Where you tell God that as a sheep, you've wandered away. And that's called sin. But Jesus' goodness and mercy chased you down to the point where he was killed to pay for your sin. And that you receive his gift of mercy and commit to following him. And if you're ready to do that, I want you to pray this between you and God right now. Hey, Jesus, I know that you are the good shepherd and that you have laid down your life for the sheep. And Jesus, I realize that I have wandered astray, that I have sinned. And I know that you have paid for my sin on the cross and that you rose again just a few days later to show that you have victory even over sin and death. And so, Jesus, I know that when you did that, you offered me this new life. And so right now, I pray to receive that. And I want to follow you. And I want to go on this journey to know you both now and forever. And it's in Jesus' name I pray. Amen. Well, hey, if you made that decision, that is awesome. And that's the most important step, but it's the first step that you would take on the beginning of following Jesus as your shepherd. And so in a moment, someone will share with you what to do next. But right now, we're going to wrap up this series by going throughout the goat one more time. Our band is going to lead us in a song singing Psalm 23. And one of the great things about this psalm is it can also be used as a prayer. And my encouragement to you is to take this moment to either sing or pray this psalm to God, your shepherd.
The Lord is my shepherd, I shall not want. In green pastures he makes me lie down. He restores my soul and leads me home for his name, for his great name. Surely goodness, surely mercy, right beside me all my days, and I will dwell in your house forever, and bless your holy name. You prepare a table right beside me, in the presence of my enemies. Though the arrows fly and the terror lies at my door, I'll trust you, Lord. Surely goodness, surely mercy, right beside me all my days, and I will dwell in your house forever, and bless your holy name. And even And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, I will fear no evil. And even though I walk through the valley of the shadow of death, you are on my side. You're on my side. Surely goodness, surely mercy, right beside me all my days, and I will dwell in your house forever, and bless your holy name, and bless your holy name.
Goodness and mercy are pursuing us. They're chasing us down. And Jesus wants us to know about it. There's a lot of powerful hope that comes in that idea. And our vision at the Ridge is to bring the hope of Jesus, that hope, that powerful hope that we're talking about, into every home. And imagine the impact of the lives of the people in your life if they had that hope. I mean, this is the very hope that people that the people proclaim and announce when they make the decision to get baptized. And that's something that actually, if you're considering, you can do that this week. And this week is actually Easter, which means two really big things. One, this week is a great week to invite someone to come to church. It's a time where people are just more open to receiving that invitation. And two, it means that we are talking a lot about that powerful hope, because we're going to be diving into, really a deep dive into the question of, hey, how did Jesus make this big sacrifice? And then how did he actually survive it? And then what does that mean for the rest of us? So we're going to really unpack and dive into all the hope that brings and really decide and figure out what does that mean for the rest of us. Now, this is something that is going to be a really impactful thing for the person in your life that doesn't know Jesus, but you want them to know Jesus. This is going to be a big time for them to hear and listen to that message of hope. And so I want to encourage you to invite them to Easter. But I also know that inviting someone to church can be something that's a little bit tricky. And so I want to give you 3 options of things that you can do. And the first is a watch party, which means that you invite someone to come and watch it with you in your home. Maybe it's outside if that makes you more comfortable, but you watch it all together. So make sure you really nail the Easter candy game and give them some free coffee. And then after you watch it together, you can debrief and have a conversation, if you feel comfortable, talking about what the message means, maybe answering questions for them. If you have any questions on, hey, how can you make your watch party unforgettable? How can you make the most of it? Well, we actually have a resource page designed to help you figure out all the little ins and outs and to figure out all the things you need to make an unforgettable watch party. The second thing that you could do is you could invite them to come to in-person service at our Greenfield campus. And so you can bring them with you or meet them at the front doors and lead them around, show them different places. If they have kids, you can help them check in to Ridge Kids because they're doing this amazing under-the-sea themed adventure thing that they're not going to want to miss. If you've never been to Greenfield, totally fine. Come check it out, and we have some amazing guest services team. They will be wearing some blue shirts, and they can help lead you around. Now, finally, we also know that for some of you, you're just not quite comfortable there, or you're not in a location where you could come in person. And so that's totally fine. Just share the link for Easter services with them, with your one. And when you do that, and maybe afterwards have a video chat with them, talking about some questions that they might have, or connecting with what they thought about service. Now, this really is an amazing opportunity to share with your one. I really do believe that God is going to do some amazing things and open hearts of the people around us, and even work in our own hearts to provide opportunities so that we can share, because God really is going to use this as an opportunity to help you bring the hope of Jesus, his hope, into their homes. That's a powerful idea. Now we're going to move into a time of offering. And if you are a guest, please just be our guest. Let this moment pass you by. But if you do call the Ridge your church home, then I want to invite you to give. And the easiest way to do that is by clicking on the link that you see. So we're going to do that, and then we'll come back in 1 minute, and we'll be right back here. All right, here we go. It's Easter week, so I'm so excited to see you and the ones you bring to our Easter services. I know God's going to do some amazing things over this next week, and so I'm super excited for that. In the meantime, may God bring lots of hope into your home as you bring the hope of Jesus into the homes of the people around you.